First though, it was the carrot that followed the stick of the Howard government's 2007 intervention into Northern Territory Indigenous communities. A $1.7 billion housing program meant to address chronic overcrowding. But 8 years into the program, with most of that money now spent, those communities which have been overlooked are becoming increasingly desperate. A year after filming those desperate housing conditions in the remote town of Elliott, Jane Bardon's returned to see if anything has changed.
Elliott's new water park provides some relief from the 45-degree heat. The federally funded after-school programme is one of the things the children love about their community. But Supervisor Josh Jackson worries there may not be a viable future for them here.
There's lots of potential here in Elliott, but just lack of opportunities.
In the town 750 kilometres down the Stewart Highway from Darwin, most residents live in wretched housing. Families are crammed in together and the children lose out most.
Kids going to school hungry and coming to sports direct hungry because there's nothing to eat back at home.
These are among the same reasons given by the federal government for its 2007 intervention into Northern Territory Indigenous communities. Alcohol prohibition and welfare payment quarantining were imposed, but Elliott didn't get a share of the carrot, the federal and territory government's $1.7 billion Indigenous housing programme.
There has to be new housing. It's just not up to scratch. There's no new house being built in Elliott for 16 years.
Elliott's housing was built over the years by a patchwork of government and Aboriginal organisations. What maintenance there is provided by the Barkly Council, which locals make a small contribution towards. The Territory Government throws in around $3,000 per house per year, but it doesn't scratch the surface. So a year ago, when the government admitted Elliott had been forgotten, the council stepped up lobbying for new houses. It was told the housing money was already spent.
Not surprised, because Elliott's always missed out.
And so nothing has changed. A year ago, Laura Jackson's bathroom and toilet were falling apart. The former assistant teacher's house is still in the same condition. 9 people live here.
It's soft and it can collapse. It's still the same, nothing's been done with the renovations here in this house.
Elliott school teacher Heather Wilson also lives with 3 generations of her family. They can't open the windows at night because there are no mosquito screens.
Kids don't have a good night's sleep because of the air fan up top, if it's not working.
Overcrowding is placing extra stress on the town's young people, and she wants flats built for them.
Especially if people have domestic violence problem, that way they won't be able to go on wrecking thing if they don't have to take it in the house.
The Barkly Council estimated that 80% of Elliott's Indigenous houses were beyond repair and said $25 million was needed for 50 new houses. The Northern Territory government has decided all the houses can be repaired, and it's allocated a fraction of that to do the work. Taking everyone by surprise, the government has given a local Indigenous-owned weed-slashing company, Triple P, a $3 million housing repair contract. The Barkly Council has written to the government complaining that its maintenance team would have achieved more bang for buck.
Indigenous workers, qualified carpenters and apprentices, and that team does a good job. So yes, very surprised.
But Triple P is confident it's up to the task. This week the Territory Housing Minister came to see it start repairs.
We'll run 2 small teams and we'll do 2 houses at a time instead of doing 20, so we can go through them and do them properly.
The government has found new money in an election year in which it's moved the funding goalposts. Utopia, one of many small homeland communities ruled out for new houses, will get 15 new homes. There's leeway because the Commonwealth has decided to allow the Territory to spend $150 million for homelands that was meant to last 8 years, when and where it wants.
Look, it gives an opportunity to decide what our priorities are in the homelands.
We never managed it in the first place. We always provided the homelands funding through the Northern Territory government.
But frustration is bubbling up all over the Territory. Many communities are considering following Santa Teresa's lead by enlisting legal help to sue the Territory government for basic repairs.
If we had the resources, I think every community in the Northern Territory would be interested in a claim like this.
For the moment, that's all most communities will get, because the two governments' main housing fund is nearly spent.
Unfortunately, this is on the wind down. We are now renegotiating Napari with all the states and territories.
Elliott is not in the running.
Elliott was not a part of the Napari program. The Napari contract never has been and never will be.
Well, I would like the Commonwealth government to make a commitment to make sure that there is future funds for future housing here in Elliott, because people are so desperate out in these communities.
Best Price is calling on both sides of federal politics to make a major commitment to another round of Indigenous housing funding before the election.
It's not right for people to live in these conditions.
In Elliott, Laura Jackson is looking forward to being one of the first to get repairs.
Most of us were super excited and happy with Triple P and, you know, a local Indigenous company.
But she's dismayed there won't be new houses.
Because we need new houses in Elliott, because one of the main, with housing is overcrowding.
Josh Jackson is one of the few Elliott young people with his own house because he moved into an almost derelict building. Like many of the town's most promising young people, he's finding it hard to see a future here.
I listen to my elders, and they've been trying to fight for this town for years and years, and way before I was around. I think people are just worn out and so sick of putting an opinion and raising their voice when it just doesn't get heard.
Jane Bardon there in the Northern Territory.